is Monica Duarte. I'm a brand identity alchemist and spiritual coach, and I'm here to guide you to go within to transform your life and brand from the inside out. And so today, what I wanted to share, I wanted to come on live here because I've been receiving guidance actually for a while now, but I've kind of been putting it off just because I've had a lot of stuff going on with projects. But I wanted to come in here and just share some guidance I've been receiving because I thought it would be valuable to help you navigate through these times. So again, if you can see me, if you can just comment on here so that I know who's watching, because Facebook doesn't allow us to see who's actually watching us anymore, which is a little bit annoying. So if you know me, for those that know me, you guys know that I'm a very introspective person. I actually, I like to watch myself to, my mindset and how I operate, because that's important to me. And that helps me create meaning in my life. And it helps me create meaning in my life and to help me to just connect to that deeper part of myself, which is very important for me in my life. So I have some notes here because I didn't want to forget what I was going to talk about. So sometimes what happens when you're used to kind of being introspective, what happens is that you receive guidance randomly. Like sometimes you'll be walking, like from the bathroom to the kitchen, and you receive this like big, it's like a bomb of guidance, or you're listening to music and like you just receive this message, or you're reading something, or you're just literally spending time by yourself and you receive guidance. And so that's what happens with me. So like, again, I've been just receiving this guidance to share with you guys about what's going on right now in the world with with the whole pandemic, and in the US here with the whole racism thing. And yeah, so just to basically share some information with that. So again, as you know, we're going through a pandemic right now. So we're going through a lot of transformation in this country, and a lot of the old ways of thinking are no longer working for our generation. So we feel it's a responsibility to change that and to transform it, which brings me to the idea of initiation. So when you think of what's going on right now, it's easy to go into the mindset of like, the country's being destroyed, this is scary, everything's falling apart. But on a deeper level, what's really happening is that we're going through an initiation in our country to let go of what no longer works for us so that we can be more in truth about what our country is about. So when you think of of the US, one of the first things that comes to mind is the US Constitution. The US Constitution is it's the soul of our country, and it's the law of the land. But to me, it also is an ideal. So and it's where we want to be, what we're about. However, this pandemic has shown us that we're very far away from that we still have a lot of work to do. And as much as you have an idea of something, you also have to take the steps to get there. And we're obviously haven't gotten there, because if we did, we would be applying the U.S. Constitution to everybody, not just white folks. Like it would include everybody, and that's obviously not happening. So that's one of the things that's going on, is that we are being asked by God, by whatever you want to call God, Jesus, whatever, the universe, I don't know, whatever works for you. We are being asked to look at ourselves and to look at the idea or ideal we have of this country, and to ask ourselves, are we really living that idea? Because right now it's just an idea, it's not manifested yet. We still have work to do, and it's our responsibility again to change that. And again, in order to change that, again, going back to initiation, we have to start looking at ourselves. And there's a danger in the spiritual community, and I will be completely honest, there is a danger, because we always want to focus, like even the law of attraction is like focusing outside yourself, focusing on what's appearing in front of you, right? But here's the thing, there's a law in the spiritual world that whatever is outside of you, whatever you see outside of yourself, is a reflection of yourself. So if you are seeing something outside yourself that you don't like, you have to look at yourself to ask, like, what is it in me that's resonating with this? Because it's obviously here for me to look at. So yes, focus on what's going on in this country. I'm not saying don't focus on racism, don't focus on uh, standing up for what's right. I'm not saying any of that. For me, this is more about yes and, like, focus on that and focus on yourself. Focus on how you are being asked to be transformed, how you what's inside you that is no longer working, that you need to let go of, so that you can live more in truth with yourself, and therefore live more in truth in the world. And then together we work to create a country that is more in truth with what the ideal of this country is, which is the U.S. Constitution. So that's one of the things that we're being asked. And when you think of initiations, it's really easy to go into the idea, like if you think about movies, when characters go in through initiations, like you'll see them, like it's like, it's not always going to be like rainbows and glitter and unicorns. Like, initiations can be chaotic. They don't have to always be positive, I guess. I don't know what word to use, but positive. They can actually look quite chaotic, and they can be a little bit scary. We go through initiations throughout our whole lives, whether you believe or realize it or not. Like, when you turn 1 year old, that's an initiation. When you turn, when you go to school, your first day of school is an initiation. When you're 15, 16, that's an initiation. When you are 18, that's an initiation. When you get married, when you have kids, all of those things are initiations, because they're parts there are moments in our lives where we're letting go of something that no longer works to walk a path that is right for us at that time. And also, initiations can also look scary. They can also look chaotic, like death, like going through the death of a loved one is also initiation. Like I've been through 2 near-death experiences. Those are initiations. The initiations don't always have to look pretty. That's basically what I'm saying. They can also look chaotic, and they can be scary. And so I feel that this is something important to understand as we move forward. What's going on in this country and in the world, that we're going through an initiation right now, and it doesn't have to be scary. Even though it appears scary, you don't have to be afraid of it. It's okay. Like, it's okay for chaos to happen. Sometimes chaos has to happen in order for things to be destroyed and new things to be built. But it's what I'm saying is your intention. Like, what is your intention? What are you looking to how are you looking to be transformed? And that's what you have to ask. Like, what is your end goal? Like, have an end goal. Like, we have the end goal of what this country is about, which we use the U.S. Constitution. So always stay focused on that end goal while you go through the chaos. And that's very, very important. Let me see. I just want to make sure I didn't skip anything. I think I went through some of the stuff here. So again, if you can see me, if you can comment on here, so I know you guys are watching, or who's watching, so I can say hi to you. So where I'm going with this now is, this is a time to not only look outside yourself, to look outside in the world of all the chaos and all the injustices that is going on, but also to ask yourself, how is God, or you replace it with whatever word you use. I use God because I feel fine with that word. I don't have any issue with that word. How is God asking me to be transformed in my life? What is the initiation that I am going through as an individual right now? We have to start asking ourselves that question, and not just always looking outside. Like, start to ask, like, how am I being asked to be transformed right now? What is no longer working for me in my life now, and what am I being asked to bring in, or what am I being asked to allow to happen? So that, again, you work on yourself and you work internally and you're more in alignment with your truth and who you are, and therefore it manifests in the world. Because if more people live that way, we all become accountable for, um, you know, what we create in the world. And it's not just about like, blaming every other people, or, like, oh, the government's doing this or the government's doing that. It's like, yeah, they're doing that, but what are you doing in yourself to make sure that you're being truth to yourself? Because the government, whether you realize it or not, is a projection of parts of ourselves that we're not being honest. When we see like the government, not being honest, doing things that are not right, like it's a projection of us, not doing something or being in our truth or living in our truth. So we have to start looking at our lives that way as well. It's not just what's going on outside, it's what's also happening inside ourselves. So right now it's a very important time to slow down and to start asking yourself, how is God asking me to be transformed right now? What is the initiation that I am being asked to go through? Because we're all going through one right now, whether we realize it or not. The time that we have now, where we can't really be with family, going outside is kind of like iffy. It's providing a lot of time for reflection and contemplation. And here's the thing: when you give yourself that space and you allow yourself that time to ask those kind of questions, you're actually start to work in the realm of the soul. That's the realm of the soul. When you can start to ask those questions, you're working in that realm. And what starts to happen, if you're open to it, is you start to receive guidance. So again, whether you're like literally talking to somebody, or you're, just sitting quietly, or you're listening to a song, you receive some kind of guidance to provide the answer that you're looking for. And one of the things that I've learned through, the 2 times that I almost died, is that God communicates. That's how God communicates. That God doesn't communicate to us the way we want God to communicate. God communicates to us through silence and through just more intuition. And so when you start to ask these kind of questions, you start to operate from the realm of the soul, and you start to be open to receive guidance and information, and to have that connection with God, and to live your life from that place, instead of living your life from the outside world and, giving your power away to the outside world. Because if you allow yourself to be controlled by what's going on in the outside world, you're giving your power away. You're not making your choices on your own. You're allowing something outside you to dictate how you should feel and how you should be and what you should believe. And for me, that's one of the things that, with the whole conspiracy stuff, like I used to be really into conspiracy theories a long time ago. I wasn't as obsessive as some people are, but I also feel like the conspiracy theory, phenomenon that's going on right now, where all of a sudden everybody's into conspiracy theories, that's also a distraction, because that is distracting us from doing the work inside ourselves. So again, yes, there are things that happen in the world that are unjust. The government is messed up. In the end, we still have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, like, how are we not being honest with ourselves? How are we being messed up with ourselves? That's the questions that we have to start asking, instead of always looking outside ourselves to blame others, or to, or to project all of our insecurities and all of our, fears out in the world. And again, you have to still respect the fact that we do live in a world, and we live as like a community. So there are things going on in the world, and we have to respect that. I'm not saying to ignore those things. I'm just saying to watch them, but also do your work inside yourself, so that you can operate more from your truth and who you are on a deeper soul level, instead of operating from the outside world, which again, when you operate from the outside world, you're giving your power away. And that's not how God created us. God did not create us to be that way. So we're not being honest and truth with ourselves. So with that being said, I wanted to just share a few examples, because one of the things for me that actually has been, challenging, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, is, when I just moved back to California a year ago, and when I moved back, I had all these ideas of what I wanted to do. where I was in my life and the path that I was going to walk, and, the things that I was going to start to do, plan. And then the virus happened. And so for a while I was like having this inner conflict where it's like, I'm, like, this is crazy. Like, I've already been through so much in my life. I can't go through any more chaos. I can't go through any more of this stuff. Like, so I would ask God, like, why am I going through this? Like, why am I even here? Like, I don't understand any of this. And so, I kept asking that question over and over again. And then I received an answer. Like, I was just laying in bed one time and I literally received, what I received was like, I heard like this inner voice say to me, to get used to being with yourself. That's what I heard. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, like all of a sudden it made sense, because one of the things with me, and again, I'm sharing my experiences to help. They don't define me, and they don't, they're not who I am anymore. They're just experiences that I've been through. So when I was younger, I actually used to have a fear of being alone, or of dying, and also being alone. Like I used to have this, through some things that I went through when I was a kid. I had this fear, and then also the second time that I almost died, where a doctor gave me some medication, I almost died. Like, I was terrified of dying alone. Like, I just had this really big fear of that. And when I received that guidance, I just felt this sense of relief, like, wow, like I'm being given this opportunity, this space to just be with myself, to get to know me on a deeper level and not have any distractions. Because here's the other thing, like I've actually have been asking God for some space and some time where I've felt in the past that people were always asking things of me and wanting things of me. And I never had time for myself. Like, it was very hard for me to balance those things where, like, I had my dreams and my goals for my business, and yet I had to do all these other things that were taking so much time and energy away from these important things. And I was having a hard time balancing them. And there was always something happening in my life that was challenging. So I kept, like, asking God, like, I can't do this anymore. I need some time. Like, I'm asking for time because I'm overwhelmed. I can't do this anymore. So when I received that guidance that, this is the time to be with yourself, it was when I received that, it was like on a very profound level where, like, it's okay to be with yourself. And right now you're given the gift of that, to allow yourself to just do whatever the heck you want, not have to worry about anybody, and just get to know yourself on a way deeper level than you could have otherwise. Because it's a little bit challenging to do that when we have all these things going on out in the world. And so right now it's kind of limited. And the other thing that I received too, I don't know, I think I had a dream, and then I woke up one day and then I felt this relief, almost like this acceptance of that one day I am gonna die. One day I am gonna die, and that's just what's gonna happen. Like, that's just part of the circle of life. It's natural. I mean, I'm not saying like go out there and do something stupid, like, obviously, but just more acceptance that, like, one day I won't be here, and it's not a terrible thing. Like, it's okay, and I will still be me. Like, I'll still continue to live. Like, I may not necessarily be in this body, but I will still exist, if that makes sense. And so all of a sudden, like, that the fear of dying just kind of dissolved, and it just brought up, like, I don't know, it felt like this. I just felt more expansive and more accepting of it, and by accepting it, and again, when I say accepting, I'm not talking about, yeah, I'm gonna die one day, so I don't have to worry. I don't have to try or do anything. I'm more like, maybe I'm not using the right word, but like more like just accepting that it's gonna happen to all of us. And so when I started to just be in that place, I just felt, I felt more relaxed, if that makes sense. Like, I just felt more relaxed, and like I could live my life more because I was no longer putting my time and energy into worrying about those things. I'm just going to enjoy my life and do the best that I can. And one day will be my day to transition out of this planet, and it's good. Everything's fine. You know what I mean? Like, everything's fine. Like, it's not, it sounds crazy, but to me, it felt like it's not a big deal. It's, oh, everything's fine. So to me, that's, those two things are how God has been asking me to be transformed, and the initiation of accepting those things. And I know some people don't ever get to a place, you know, in their lives where like they live their lives in fear of death forever, you know? And so for me, I was like, wow, like that's crazy that I can think about death in that way now. And I'm in my 30s. Like, that's, you know, that's insane. Like, how, that's crazy to me. So again, these are just examples of, again, you know, tuning into yourself right now, using this time to tune into yourself and ask God, like, what is it that you're asking of me that needs to be transformed? And listening to the guidance, listening to the wisdom that's provided, and just being open to that wisdom. And again, working from the inside out instead of the outside in, because you don't live outside, you live inside yourself. Like, there's no you outside there. It's, you know, that's a whole different story. But you have to learn to operate from the inside first, and then you can transform the outside world when you operate from that place, and you take your power back from the things that we believe the outside world has control over us. So that's kind of what I wanted to share today. I love to hear if you've been kind of contemplating like me during this time. I'd love to hear what you've been getting or receiving as far as like, you know, guidance, as far as like how you're being asked to be transformed, and what kind of things you're doing to take those steps, you know, to be more in alignment with yourself. I actually would love to hear that, because that's very, I find that actually quite fascinating. And it's really interesting because sometimes, actually a lot of the times, many of us are going through the same, I guess, lessons or initiations. So it'll be interesting to see how many people are going through similar, you know, initiations as me, or perhaps you have one and somebody else has similar. It'll just be really interesting to see that. And then also in the next few days, I am going to have my archetype, my soul archetype guides test live, and I'll share the link on here. And then also, if you like my my business page, I'll share it on there as well, so that you can take your test. Basically, what the archetype test, it'll help you understand what archetype is operating in your unconscious mind really strongly. We tend to have probably 1 to 3 archetypes strongly operating in our unconscious mind. And it's important to be aware of those, because you start to understand yourself on a deeper level. And then you also start to kind of see, I call them the spells that those archetypes can fall into, so that if you're operating from that level, you can shift yourself and bring in what I call the magic, which are the positive aspects of that archetype, to balance yourself. And then also just to see yourself on a different level. And also, again, I work with the archetypes to create brands for my clients as well. So I encourage you to take that test once I post that link. It's really awesome. You know, it's taken me about 3 years to actually get that up. I've done 3 years of research, and, you know, making sure that everything makes sense and is just right. It just feels right. And then you also get a report at the end. It's a really beautiful report that I designed. So you'll get a beautiful report at the end once you take the test and you put in your email in there. You'll get a report, and then it'll give you, like, you know, the spells, you know, the magic and spells. It'll go a little bit into more of the psychology part of it. And then for those that are looking to learn how to apply it to your brand, it also gives you guidance on how to do that. And it also gives you a little bit of coaching on what steps to take to to incorporate that archetype more or balance it more. And this is a really awesome tool as well to work with during this time to help you understand yourself on a deeper level. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.